It's amazing we even know all this. The experts at the Department of Energy have 850 different classified and restricted manuals on what is to be classified. And let's not forget those $600 toilet seats, $900 ashtrays, $1,000 pairs of pliers, and $4.5 million fax machines that our military experts consider a bargain to spend our tax money on. My old hometown of Boulder, Colorado once employed a flood control expert named Ted Diefendorfer, who suggested that a lion's share of the city's money for low-income housing, street repair, parks, the things you usually spend a city's budget on, would be better spent dredging huge cement-lined canals underneath several main streets through town, just in case of the 100-year flood. The plan was seriously considered, seriously rejected, and Diefendorfer resigned, saying, "This town just doesn't share my concern for the 100-year flood. As far as I know, the town's still there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it." It's not a term heard often around those noted flood control and environmental experts, the Army Corps of Engineers. There's been widespread allegations that the 93 Mississippi River flood might not have been so bad if the Corps had left the damn river alone. But oh no, we at the Corps know more about managing them oceans and water than the rivers themselves do. So the dam building, dredging, and rerouting continues. According to a weekly magazine published in the South called Creative Loafing, up and down the Atlantic coast from at least Maryland to Georgia, the Corps has conned town after town into their program of beach renourishment. The idea being that natural coastline that's been there for thousands, if not millions of years, should be dredged and moved and cemented and fortified with dike-like structures they call groins for the shoreline to stay where it was in the first place. Often it does not stay there and must then be redredged again and again and again at $5 to $10 million a pop. Or, according to this article, Ocean City, Maryland spent $90 million the second time. Remember when Reagan's second Interior Secretary, Donald Hodel, said that the ozone hole was nothing to worry about because we could just wear sunglasses and long-sleeve coats when we go out, hoods, dress Islamic style all the time like they already have to in parts of Australia. But his expert advice forgot about one thing. What about the animals? What are they going to do? In southern South America, there's already reports of livestock and who knows what else going blind and wandering into ponds and rivers and drowning. And as some of you may have heard, frogs and toads are dying off en masse all over the world, even in remote, unpolluted areas. Now the hypothesis is maybe it's because this Swiss cheese we call an atmosphere and ozone is letting so much ultraviolet rays in, it's killing all the eggs. It doesn't take an expert to figure out that without an ecosystem there's no food supply, which leads to starvation, which leads to war. And maybe we'll finally solve the overpopulation problem. At the Earth Summit in Rio, Jacques Cousteau said we've got about 15 years. Our government art experts allot about $140 million a year for the National Endowment for the Arts and $200 million for military bands. How many military bands can that be? Where do they play? Where does that money really go? Titanium tubas for the great nuclear war or what? The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms sure did an expert job handling David Koresh. Your favorite metalhead and mine could have been picked up easily while he was out jogging or going to the store. 80-some-odd people might still be alive. Malaria. had been nearly eliminated from many parts of the world till the World Health Organization decided to eradicate it completely with newfangled magic chemicals. They spent 21 years and almost $2 billion before giving up in 1976. All they had to show for it was a new strain of malaria-carrying mosquito immune to insecticides. U.S. foreign policy experts won't give any nation the time of day till they knuckle under to those third world management experts at the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Their prescription is always the same. Food for hungry people? Medicine? No. Loans, loans, loans for technological progress like dams, logging roads, power plants, and factories. Environment be damned. In return for the country cutting government aid to their own people and throwing open their borders for pillaging by multinational industry. Many countries soon find themselves worse off than before and spend more money paying interest on these loans than they can on everything at home. Still, the World Bank, who could forgive some of these loans, had a $1.2 billion surplus in '91. According to Doug Henwood of the Left Business Observer, they poured $904 million of that into their so-called retained earnings, read investments, that now stand in '94 at about $13 billion. Meanwhile, according to UNICEF, preventing vitamin A deficiency blindness worldwide would cost about $6 million, and preventing the great majority of child starvation deaths around $2.5 billion. World Bank says they don't have the money. Their chief economist at the time, Lawrence Summers, even said, and this is a quote, "I think the economic logic behind dumping a load of toxic waste in the lowest wage country is impeccable." Summers has also gone on record saying Africa is vastly underpolluted. And he was only being candid, openly speaking the mind of many bigwig world finance experts whose mission is trying to turn misery into capital, where a human being's life is measured. Yeah, they found a way to measure a human being's life in monetary terms by what they call the present value of their future earning stream. In other words, a person in a poor country is worth less money than a human being in a rich one. Summers' reward for openly flaunting this mentality was to be appointed Undersecretary of the Treasury for International Affairs, not by the Bush administration, but by Bill Clinton, who originally wanted him to be his chief economic advisor before some environmentalists complained at the economic summit in Little Rock, so he was moved to a lower profile post with more power. Some of these countries that people like Summers and possibly Clinton consider less worthy on the human being value scale, like Zimbabwe and Brazil, used to grow enough food to feed their own people. But according to Multinational Monitor, they no longer can because experts from more civilized countries convinced their leaders they should grow tobacco instead. Experts at Nestle's Chocolate thought it was a dandy idea to get African women to stop breastfeeding their babies and feed them Nestle's brand powdered milk instead. When the powdered milk was mixed with contaminated local water supplies, a lot of babies died. It took a worldwide boycott of several years before Nestle's finally said they'd learned their lesson. But what do I find at the Earth Summit Global Forum in Rio but a flyer from Nestle's on how to end world hunger? Among the foods pictured was peanut butter and, you guessed it, powdered milk. Meanwhile, experts here at home are pushing biotechnology and genetic engineering for us to swallow. Full speed ahead with thalidomide agriculture, but no government aid for organic farms. And in this country, you cannot patent any medicine or cosmetic or potion or food that's